Most Catholics celebrate a number of the traditional 7 sacraments identified by the Church. Only a few celebrate the last of the 7 sacraments, the Sacrament of Ordination. Joseph Martos, in his book Doors to the Sacred, presents a detailed review of the evolution of this sacrament, and Bernard Cook advances an argument that suggests that the role of the laity in ministry is in its ascendancy, and that of specially designated ministers, for example priests and deacons, is in decline. While these and other pressing contemporary issues surrounding ordination deserve discussion, at a minimum this presentation might be useful in highlighting the liturgical actions used in the rite of ordination, and in this way provide useful insight as to how the role of the laity can be sacramentally celebrated by the Church. Since most have never seen an ordination, this presentation attempts to briefly present the sacrament of ordination within the context of the sacramental rite developed by the Roman Catholic Church. The Roman Pontifical lays out the rite for ordaining bishops, priests, and deacons. As you will see, the ordination rites are quite similar, although only the ordination rites for priests and deacons are discussed in detail. From medieval times up until the 1970s, there were a number of preliminary steps, or minor orders, leading to the ordination as a priest or deacon. In 1972, the orders in the Roman Church were simplified, and the minor orders of porter, exorcist, and subdeacon were suppressed. Today, candidates for ordination to the diaconate and the priesthood are first instituted as lectors or readers, and then acolytes. Grounded in a scholastic approach to sacramental theology, Pope Pius XII declared that the matter of the ordination sacrament is the laying on of hands by the bishop. The form is the words of the prayer of ordination. The 1972 ordination rite, ordered by the Second Vatican Council, reduced the length of the rite and simplified it to express more vividly the central part of the ordination, that is, the laying on of hands and the prayer of ordination. The 2002 edition of the Roman Pontifical describes the modern rite of ordination, priest and deacon. Although the same rite is used for deacons destined to become priests, that is, transitional deacons, the new ordination rite more appropriately reflects the role of the permanent deacon, who receives the laying on of hands not for the priesthood, but for the ministries of liturgy, word, and service, in communion with the bishops and his presbyterate. Regarding priests, the Second Vatican Council wrote, "By sacred ordination and the mission they receive from the bishops, priests are promoted to the service of Christ, the teacher, priest, and king. By virtue of the sacrament of holy orders, in the image of Christ, eternal high priest, they are consecrated to preach the gospel, to shepherd the faithful, and to celebrate divine worship as true priests of the New Testament." The Roman Pontifical suggests that the ordination occur in a place able to accommodate the local church. In Los Angeles, invitations are sent out not only to the family and friends of those being ordained, but also to all 302 parishes in the Archdiocese, to encourage broad participation and to promote an awareness of religious vocations. As a result of the number of people to be accommodated, the presbyteral and diaconal ordinations take place in the cathedral church. The ordination rite is celebrated within the rites of the Mass. The entrance procession highlights the presence of the local church through the participation of representatives of the laity and the diaconal, presbyteral, and episcopal communities. Candidates for the priesthood and the deacon couples lead the procession. The support that newly ordained will receive from fellow priests and deacons is symbolized by the large number of clergy who witness the ordination each year. On our ordination day, it was with a profound sense of belonging that our class climbed up the stairs from the lower level of the cathedral to the clapping of all the previously ordained deacons and their wives. Accompanied by the auxiliary bishops from the Archdiocese, the presiding bishop, in this case the Cardinal Archbishop, brings the entrance procession to a close. After the greeting, everyone is reminded of their own sacramental baptism through the sprinkling rite. The Mass continues with the Liturgy of the Word, following the opening prayer. Recognizing the over 90 languages spoken within the Archdiocese, the readings are proclaimed in a variety of languages. In our ordination class, one of our classmates was profoundly deaf, so American Sign Language is also represented at the ordination. Following the proclamation of the Gospel, the rite of ordination begins. The first part of the rite consists of the election or calling of the candidates and the consent of the local church.
Let those to be ordained deacons come forward.
The candidates stand in front of everyone, and a person responsible for the formation of the priests or deacons asks the church to ordain these men to the diaconate or the priesthood. The bishop then asks if they are known to be worthy, and a formation director responds in the affirmative. At that point, the local church, represented by the cardinal and all in attendance, signal its consent. The presiding bishop then preaches a homily emphasizing the particular characteristics of each order within the context of the readings heard during the Liturgy of the Word. Following the homily, the elect affirm their commitment to undertake the role of priest or deacon, as well as the specific responsibilities of each order. It is at this time during the ordination to the diaconate that candidates for the priesthood, as well as unmarried candidates for the permanent diaconate, make the promise of celibacy. Another required promise that both priests and deacons make is to respect and obey the bishop and his successors. The candidates approach the bishop and place their hands between his hands when making this promise.
Thomas, do you promise respect and obedience to me and my successors?
I do.
May God, who has begun the good work in you, bring it to fulfillment.
The Litany of Supplication is a dramatic and well-known symbol of ordination, although not the most important historical symbol. In the litany, the candidates prostrate themselves and everyone present pleads for God's grace for the candidates. In order to make the litany particularly significant to the candidates and the local community, the Roman Pontifical suggests that the patron saint of each candidate and the saints of their home parish be inserted into the litany. Here, too, a priest signs the concluding presidential prayers. Our deaf classmate, not realizing that the litany is concluded, is gently prodded by a friend. Through the laying on of hands by the presiding bishop and the prayer of ordination, the gifts of the Holy Spirit for the office of priest or deacon are conferred on the candidates. In the ordination rite for both priests and deacons, the candidate approaches the bishop, who silently places his hands upon their heads. During my ordination, this was the most profound experience during the entire rite, as I felt the light pressure of the cardinal's hands upon my head. During the rite of ordination for deacons, only the presiding bishop places his hands on their heads, to clearly symbolize the role of deacon as the bishop's special assistant. However, during the ordination of priests, other bishops and priests attending the ordination are invited to lay hands on the candidates. This symbol helps to strengthen the ties between the newly ordained and their brother priests. In a local adaptation, the newly ordained priests bless the cardinal and the auxiliary bishops by laying on hands. In subsequent ordinations, this liturgical action was modified so that a sign of blessing is used instead of laying on hands, because this made it look as if the